Border wall is not effective.
The president just told me that a border wall does not work. If that's the case, why does his own Department of Homeland Security secretary say in a public notice, quote, there is presently an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers?
Here's what I can say. I can speak to what the president was very clear in saying, and also what you all have been reporting about this construction. So the facts are this is not new. These funds were appropriated in fiscal year 2019 under Republican leadership, and DHS is required by law to use the funds for appropriated purpose. That's what we're seeing. This was announced back in June by the DHS. And so, look, we believe that there are better effective ways of moving forward to secure our border and security, our border security, and we have continuously asked for Congress to act, to provide our CBP, the law enforcement at the border, to give them the resources they need to do their jobs. And so we're going to continue to call on Congress. We believe, and the president has been very clear, even when you asked him, does a border wall work? He said no. And he's been very consistent about that. We believe that we need border technology that is modernized and land ports of land ports of entry, and that's what we want to see. And that's what I can speak to. And this is something that we were required by law, and we are complying. This is an administration that does believe in the rule of law.
But why now? For instance, these funds have been available since Biden took office. Why at this time?
And the president actually spoke to this, and this is one of the things that he was saying, that he's been asking Congress to reappropriate the funds. He has been. For the past couple of years, and Congress refused. And we have to comply by law to get this done. And that's what you're seeing happening right now.
Would there be a way to continue to slow walk this and to delay it?
We have to comply by law, and that's what we're doing at this time. We ask Congress to reappropriate the funds. That's what we would prefer to see, not waste the funding in the way that they're doing it right now, that we are required to do. But they refused, and so now we're moving forward. Go ahead.
Thanks, Reed. What specific law will the administration be breaking if funds appropriated for the border wall are not used, especially because the funds go unused all the time? I mean, why not let it go unused this time?
Well, look, I'm not going to speak to the law. I would have to refer you to Department of Justice. I'm not a lawyer, but what I can tell you is that this is a law that we are complying with. We have asked Congress multiple times to reappropriate this. This is not the way that we believe is going to be effective here. We believe in modernizing the system, not actually building a wall. The president said himself he does not think this is effective, and so we're complying by law. And we believe that in the rule of law here, and we're moving forward and getting that, in following the law.
Is this the administration in some ways recognizing that using these funds at this moment will be useful in Texas?
We are complying by the law that says that we need to do this, and that's what DHS is asking for.
And how is this consistent with what President Biden pledged to do when he was elected, which is that he will not use any funds to use the border law? What will you tell?
Let's make this really clear. The facts are that this is not new, right? This is something that came from the last administration under the Republican leadership in fiscal year 2019, and we are required to do this. We are required, DHS is required to comply by the law. That's what we're doing here. And look, the president, he said this himself. He basically asked Congress to reappropriate the funds. They wouldn't do it. And so now we have to comply by the law. Now, this was something that was announced 6 months ago. DHS actually announced this 6 months ago. And so this is not new. This is actually not new.
Does this help with the situation in Texas?
We believe that a border wall is not effective. You heard that from the president when your colleague Selena asked him directly. He said we don't believe it's effective. We have asked Congress to actually help us, use these funds in smarter, more effective ways. That's what we've asked for. They refuse, but we're going to continue to ask for Congress, especially Republicans who are holding this back, to act.
If the border wall is ineffective, why is the Homeland Security Secretary saying that it's necessary to prevent unlawful entries into the United States?
I have not seen that full statement. I know. I hear you. I'm just saying I have not seen his full statement on that. What I can speak to is for the president. The president's been very clear that he doesn't believe it's effective. He answered that question of your colleague. That's what I can speak to. That's what we're going to talk about. And we've actually said there are smarter ways and more effective ways in dealing with this. And there are. And so the president said himself, he asked Congress to reappropriate this funds for something that is more effective, for ways to do this in a smarter way as it relates to border security measures. They refused. This was announced back in June, and now we're moving forward.
You said that it's not new, but to be clear, that this was posted on the Federal Register overnight on October 4th. So, just to be clear about this, the president earlier today said that he was asked, does the border wall work? He said no. But in this statement that was posted within the last 24 hours, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary says there is presently an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers and roads in the vicinity of the border of the United States in order to prevent unlawful entries into the United States. So who's right? The statement from the DHS Secretary overnight or the President's comments today saying they don't work?
So a couple of things. Yes, it showed up on the register today, but the announcement, this is not new. This is from 6 months
Well,
ago.
it is new because the waiving of the laws actually didn't happen.
But this is something that was out back, that the DHS was put out back in 6 months ago. So and now they announced.
Did they waive the laws 6 months ago?
Well, what I'm saying is DHS announced this back in June, that the agency would do so. They actually said that they would do that back in
They moved forward
DHS.
with it today, but the initial announcement was 6 months ago by waiving the laws. So that's what's new today. Understood. So
Yes.
the statement when
Just
he
wanna
says
make sure we're
presently
clear
was
on that.
filed. So when he said there is presently, are you saying when he says there is presently, he was referring to 6 months ago or referring to the date of which it was filed?
What I can
10/4?
tell you is DHS announced this back in June, that they were going to move forward with this. That's what I can share with you. That's what I know is to be true and is to be fact. Look, I can speak for the president. The president said, he was asked directly, he doesn't believe a border wall is effective.
Does he have a disagreement with his Department of Homeland Security Secretary?
What I can tell you is what the president, I want to tell you what the president said and what your colleague asked him. He said, no, he doesn't believe that
I
the
asked
border wall is
because he's
effective.
speaking in direct contradiction to what his own
I know,
Homeland
I hear
Security
you.
Secretary
I hear you.
says.
I'm speaking for the president. I'm saying that he has said that he does not believe a border wall is effective. That's what he was asked. He has said that for some time now, and it still remains to be the case. He asked, right? He asked Congress multiple times. His team has asked Congress to reappropriate the funds. They refused to do that. We're going to comply by
Will
law.
you ask the president on our behalf then, in the absence of our ability to do that, whether he disagrees with the statement that there is presently an acute and immediate need to construct
I'm
physical
happy to take
barriers?
that back. I'm happy to take that back. Go ahead.
Corinne, again on the wall, Mexico's president is saying that the plans to move forward, quote, are contrary to what President Biden had been proposing. Has the president addressed this with Mexico? Have you guys, has he talked
I mean, he
to-
just addressed it
But has
in the
has
Oval.
he spoken to the Mexican leader?
I hear you, but that was just came out, right? I'm assuming that he just made that statement,
could've
correct?
talked to him in
Well,
advance.
you guys just saw him. He was meeting with his national security advisors, right, with the new chairman. So, first of all, you heard directly from the president. He said that he does not think a border wall is effective. So you heard directly from the president on that, as the president of Mexico is speaking to, right? So you heard directly from the president. I don't have a call to read out. The president has been busy meeting with his national security team. I don't have a call to reach out. As you know, members of his team here at the White House they went down to Mexico. They did a delegation and went down there and had meetings. I don't have a call to read out from the president.
And he said in 2020 as a candidate, so after this law was passed in 2019, that there will not be another foot of wall constructed in my administration. How can you say that he's not breaking that promise?
Well, what I can say is that there's a law that the DHS is complying with. We believe in the rule of law, and that's what we're moving forward with. This was decided, as you just said, in 2019. I believe there was a different president in 2019, right? That was a Republican president who actually pushed this forward. The Republican leadership pushed this forward. And so now we're complying by the law. Let's not forget, this was 6 months ago. This was out there 6 months ago. I know you guys are asking me about this now, but this was actually not new, and this was done 6 months ago. Okay.
Yeah, but to piggyback on that, Corinne, I mean, there were a series of waivers put forth last night that expedite this process. And can you help us understand, essentially, is there a deadline in the law, or why is it that this has to be used up right now? Because you all have been not thus far using these funds. So to piggyback on Nandita's question, why not continue to slow walk this if philosophically you
Because
do
we've
not
asked,
believe it?
because the answer there is we've asked Congress over and over again, the president said this, to reappropriate the funds. They said no. We have to comply by the law. That's what DHS is doing. As you asked me about the environmental laws that we had to deal with, we have to comply by the law, and which requires, because we have to comply by the law, which requires the agencies to use these funds for their appropriated purpose. Now, CBP will conduct environmental and cultural resource surveys of this project, and so certainly I would refer you to DHS and CBP on the specifics of that, and also the law itself. What I can tell you is that we have to comply by the law, and that's what we're doing, and that's what DHS is doing. Again, this was announced back in June, and this is how we're moving forward. And you heard directly from the president. His stance on the border wall has not changed. He does not believe it is effective. He's been very clear about that. Again, your colleague asked him directly, and his answer was no. Go ahead, JJ.
Has the government already contracted for this project?
I don't have any news about contracts for this project or how it's moving forward. I would have to refer you to DHS on that.